All right, so I have my images saved to my desktop here. I'm going to grab my runner, and I'm going to drop my runner on top of that Photoshop icon. I'm going to grab this ice cream cone. I'm going to drag it on top of Photoshop as well. All right, so then I have my final product or project page right here, like so. You know, if you guys want to do this horizontal or vertical, I guess you can change it around. It doesn't necessarily matter to me. But I'm just going to do my vertical for now. So I'm going to take my runner first. I'm going to right-click on this layer. I'm going to say Duplicate Layer. I'm going to find my final one here, which is Collage Photoshop Document. I'm going to say OK. I'm going to get rid of the runner. I'm going to take my Soft Serve Strawberry. I'm going to right-click here. I'm going to say Duplicate Layer. I'm going to drop this up to Collage. I'm going to say OK. I'm going to get rid of the strawberry. And now, miraculously, both of these images have landed on my final document here. All right, so I'm going to hide the ice cream for now. I'm going to bring this runner here. I'm going to stretch this out so that it fits a little bit better. So I'm just going to try to put this in the legs here. So I'm going to bring this here. Again, I probably should have found a larger image for this, but this is what I got, so this is what I'm going to use. So there's my runner. I'm going to hit the check mark up here since I made a transformation, using the transforming tool here and making sure that my show transform controls were selected. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this ice cream, I'm going to bring it back. I'm going to shrink it down a little bit. And then remember yesterday I also used my opacity. I'm going to turn down the opacity of my layer a little bit. Too much. So I can see through here. I'm going to make this fit. Right on top of this here. All right, and then maybe this isn't the best juxtaposition because it looks a little bit weird that it's going to be this tiny ice cream cone floating right here, but we'll do it anyways here. So I'm going to hit the check mark. I'm going to bring up my opacity to 100% again. There we go, and it sort of fills it out. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of, remember I'm going to layer mask these. So let's hide the ice cream cone. I'm going to use my background layer. I'm going to use my rectangular marquee tool. So if I hold down and select that, I am going to cut this right at the waist here. So I'm going to go a little bit higher. And then I'm going to layer mask it, just like so. Oops. I see. Hang on. I got to add to my selection down here at the bottom because it cut off a little bit of the white. There we go. I'm going to layer mask it, just like so. I'm going to bring up the ice cream cone. I am going to select the top half of the ice cream cone. I'm going to go a little bit lower because I want to get a little bit of that cone in there, like that. And then I'm going to use my selecting tool again here to add to the top. There we go. And then I'm going to go layer mask. Oops. Sorry, I was on the wrong layer. That's my layer mask here. Boom. All right, so I just got rid of that. So there we go. So now I have a weird ice cream cone floating outside that body. Now I have a little bit of cleaning up here to do because I want to get rid of that white. And I also might need to move that ice cream cone over just a little bit. So let's zoom in. So I can use my magnifying glass here. Or I can use my command plus or minus, but I'm just going to zoom in here. I'm going to use my transforming tool. And I'm going to transform. Oops. I have to zoom out a little bit because I can't see. There we go. I'm going to transform this a little bit wider because I want it to fit on the body. A little bit wider maybe. Yeah, I want that to fit. Just like that. I'm going to hit my check mark. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean up my selection here of this because I'm going to take my black paintbrush. Where are you, black paintbrush? I'm going to adjust the hardness of the brush here and the size of the brush here. I can make it a little smaller. I'm going to make sure that I'm using black because black makes it disappear. And I'm going to paint out this little extra bit here. Oh, there's her clothes that I don't want. And I'm going to try to just capture this bit down here at the bottom. There we go, paint that out. And this part I flip-flop this to white. I want this to come back a little bit. I'll go back to black. Let's try that one more time. There we go. All right, I'm going to have to mess with that a little bit. Let me zoom out again. All right, but there we go. So now I have my strange combination there of my ice cream cone on my running pants. If you want to, obviously this background is empty here. If I want to make this background a different color, I can work with that a little bit. I just would have to work a little bit to get rid of this white part here. So that could be sort of advanced, but let's try that. I'm going to make a new layer, which is here, which is my empty layer. I'm going to drag it behind the ice cream cone. I'm going to fill it with maybe a nice light blue. Just sort of remind me of the sky. So I'm going to say OK. I'm going to use my paint bucket, which is underneath the gradient tool if you don't see it. And I'm going to fill that layer. Oh, I'm going to have to go behind the lights here. There we go. So this is blue. Now the only problem is that I have my white here. So I'm going to select my quick selection tool. Actually, I'm going to use my magic wand instead, because it'll be faster. Let's zoom in a little bit here. And I'm going to select on my ice cream cone. So I'm going to click on the ice cream cone image. Oh, hang on, let me start over. And I'm going to click that white part on the ice cream cone. Why are you not selecting part? There we go. This part here, I'm going to say add, and I'm going to add this white part to the ice cream cone. Then I'm going to paint it black, right? Because that will get rid of it. So I'm going to paint it. Oops, sorry, mistake there. I got to make sure I click on my layer mask. Remember, I can switch between these two here. I'm going to click on my layer mask, and I'm going to paint that out. And I'm only painting in the selection, which is sort of handy, right? Sort of expedites that process a little bit. And I say select, deselect, and then I can just paint this part in here a little bit, sort of clean this up. There we go. So I just changed my sky blue. And if I want this to be a little bit sharper here or fuzzier, remember, if I double click on the layer mask itself, I go to this masking thing here where I can smooth out the edges. I can feather the edges of my mask a little bit. I can shift my edge inwards a little bit so it eats up some of that white on the edge there. I say OK. And that looks pretty good. So there you go. So that is our basic expectation, is combining these two or three images together to make something sort of new and interesting. And maybe two is easier. Maybe three is too ambitious. But if we combine the two, and then if you want to get a little bit crazier, you can add some different things on here to sort of spice it up a little bit.